Hello to all of you, my listeners. This is Dr. Leah Lester, and I am so thrilled to welcome you to this brand new episode of American Education and Policy. Today's topic is a hot one and really one that concerns me, as the question is, what really makes a nation great? Undoubtedly, America has achieved greatness in the eyes of the world for many reasons. Just as an individual follows certain steps to achieve greatness, I believe that the same is true for a nation. Let me remind you that neither an individual or a nation will achieve greatness through means of evil works or selfish gain. Overlooking the needs of marginalized or people who are poor does not result in greatness. For what does it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Although America has a history of doing evil, as the Civil War worked to free Black people from slavery, America also has a history of doing great things. The matter of what America has done to make itself a great nation will be discussed in this podcast, in addition to how we can view this trial or crisis we currently face as a nation. First, I wish to expose the contemptuous works as have been set before us in this year 2025. We must recognize that many of the significant things that elevated us to the level of greatness are the same things being attacked and destroyed before us by the current regime. The attacks to destroy the goodness of our nation have been blatant, so as to deceive us to believe that we are powerless. But remember to fret not. Also, remember that the laws of the land have been for equity since the civil rights movement and are working out the defense for a nation who is standing and fighting for our sustenance. I thought that it would benefit us to discuss briefly. I couldn't discuss it all, but just in a synopsis of, in education, what has made America to be called great. And I would say that the care for the people, the care for the poor, for the disabled and the marginalized has been a principle that has empowered the laws of the Department of Education. Do you know that when you care for the poor, you lend to the Lord? The laws of the Department of Education have served the nation for decades. Let's briefly identify a few. While Title I has been operable in many schools where a high concentration of minorities and low-income students exists, federal funds are authorized to help for those for closing the gap, the achievement gaps, and improving the curriculum while providing needed resources for needy students. As the criteria population for this funding, federal funding, must show a 40% or more student population who are low income. The students may also be eligible for free lunch and breakfast. When I was in elementary school, we used to actually walk home for lunch, and our parents served us lunch, and then we returned to school for the remaining of the school day. At that time, President Lyndon Johnson had not yet implemented the various titles as we see them today. I will talk about the four basic titles that are very responsible for K through 12 education. But Title II, let's talk about that briefly. So Title II provides for teachers and principals for professional development and teacher retention. This may be training for teachers to include workshops, mentoring, coaching, and resources for teaching students with diverse needs. The title also provides for the American Disability Act and for disability for those insured under Social Security and for those disabled under the Act. And then there's Title III. It's directly related to English language learners and immigrants, students. So students can learn the English language and achieve academic proficiency. The Act also addresses providing access for students with disabilities in public facilities. Evidence-based programs for family and engagement and staff development are included in Title III. New facilities and modification of existing facilities must meet the accessible standards of the American Disability Act. All of this is in Title III. And then Title IV provides for federal financial aid for students, post-secondary schooling. This includes federal loans, federal grants, and work-study opportunities, programs like Pell Grant and federal direct loan programs, while Title IV benefits included even more for student welfare. I personally am grateful for the benefits. I have a doctorate degree today because of Title IV benefits. And then although the primary functions and titles that are related to K through 12 grades are the first four titles, but I could not leave out Title IX, funding, which addresses sexual discrimination laws, which have liberated so many students to achieve beyond what they may have achieved when laws prohibited them. This law prohibits sex-based discrimination in schools or organizations who receive federal funding. Although Title I through IV, as I said, are the main titles that apply to public education for K through 12 education. I felt the need to list Title IX, unless I am remiss of those who are so often overlooked. Certainly many battles had to be won in education for America to approach a vision for recognizing the needs and the responsibility of a nation to care for all of its citizens. Therefore, I am ever grateful for President Lyndon Johnson, who led the nation during the civil rights era of 1954 through 1968, although he was president from 1963 to 1969, and left an indelible contribution for making America great. Although the titles 1 through 4 have been discussed, I want to discuss this misinformation that unfortunately has infiltrated our society. Because misinformation or lack of vital information will obviously lead to ruin, as a lie without the correction or information essential for nourishing a society can lead many up a path for destruction, just like sheep without a shepherd. Information founded on hate and lies can ruin the many years of labor of our predecessors. Today we see damage that is done when only a portion of the overall population is exposed to truth and knowledge, whether willful or through neglect. Therefore, the works of the President Johnson, who championed these initiatives for equity for all, may need to be reconstructed for the good of a new generation. Therefore, we must not lose heart, period. So, although it looks like ruin, we must recognize that we need to see ruin as an opportunity. I believe we need some new ways of thinking. As throughout my life, I have learned some true ways for thinking to sustain me, as I learned that ultimately everything will work together for good. I might not understand it. I can't see how it could possibly work together for good, but I learned that in my life. Although some things appear like the end of me, somehow I learned a new way to live. Principles that I have tried to apply to my life ultimately took on a new form that was somehow able to guide my every step while providing needed hope and assurance during trials, during hardships, during crises, that I can make assurance that I can make it in this life. I learned that the principles and truths I previously learned, even early in my early childhood, never changed, but the old wineskins that I was wearing needed to be replaced with new wine. I had to allow my life to transform into something new and dynamic, as life required from me what I could not conceive. Initially, I felt I could not make it without the old wineskins. But for every new step I took, I found that I had everything I needed inside of me to overcome adversity. As a nation, we cannot feel hopeless. We must not feel hopeless. We must fight for what is ours and not feel distraught over what has been stolen or broken. That's another thing I learned, that anything that's of great value, people or something wants to take it. But as I have personally learned, we must recognize that our brokenness leads to newness. Whether broken physically, spiritually, or emotionally, we now have an opportunity to repair and transform our institutions to even greater constructs. Yes, they want to close and destroy and tear down the Department of Education. But we must not lose heart. Remember that evil is all around us, just as evildoers are all around us, and they think and believe that their works of iniquity are destroying us. But we must remember that we are more than conquerors. If we remember that in our time of despair, our time of crises, then we have a valuable weapon. If we walk in the light, we have power. We also have cleansing or renewal. Sometimes things are disrupted in our lives to allow for greatness to occur and to take us out of the past and into a new way. Some of our predecessors have shown us that how to care for the least among us. We have laws that epitomize the care for the least among us, for the needy, for the handicapped, and for the poor. These laws are made for us to learn and for us to realize what is most important in life. As the care for children and the poor and disabled contributed to our greatness as a nation and the recognition of America around the world. The devourer came or comes in the light, a thief in the night, and seeking whom he may devour. we must recognize the schemes, and we also need to know that the attacks are on or directed to what is actually great about us. And then after the attacks and what looks like ruin has occurred, then we must rebuild to do even greater things than what has occurred in the past. The desires of the devourer are to take away true greatness and to replace it with intentions of selfish gain and wrongdoings and evil works and a value system built on hate. But God has given us that spirit of love. And he's also given us a spirit, has not given us that spirit of fear. So if you are fearing today, stand firm, and we must fight. And when we fight, we win. That's what Kamala Harris said. When we fight, we win. Remember that. Thank you so much for allowing me to share that thought with you today. It was brief, but it's what I needed to say today. Stay courageous, stay hopeful, and know that greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. Allow me to just say thank you again for listening. Thank you for taking the time to listen to American Education and Policy with Dr. Leah Lester. I am so grateful for you allowing me into your life today. Be blessed and stay strong. God loves you, and so do I. Take care.